down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
All right, here we go. How is everyone? Good, great.
Great.
First of all, we're going to have fun today. I know that's rare as a landlord when we don't have fun. Now listen, for some reason I'm on a bunch of allergy medicine, fatigued. I worked out first time in like 7 days today. So if I don't speak well, that's good, because today's not my day to speak. First of all, April 25th, we're starting this thing. It's a book club. And people keep asking me, I should probably tell you what book club we're reading, right? Because I've already read it, but April 25th, here at 7 o'clock, it's free. It's going to be online. You can watch it online on your phone on Zoom. You go to besavvybookclub.com. But this is the first book we're reading. It's incredible. It's super easy. I picked this simple, easy book to read. Like, you can get this on Kindle for a couple of dollars, or you can buy this for $7. It's Manage Your Day-to-Day, Build Your Routine, Find Your Focus, Sharpen Your Creative Mind. It's incredible. April 25th, we're going to chat about it, and if a lot of people don't get it, then we're going to extend it. All right. Today, we're having a Q&A with real investors. Peppered in the room are some superstar investors. Some of them. In their mind. In their mind. Maybe in their muscles and their pectorals.
Yeah.
Big daddy.
Yeah.
If you come up with a good question, okay, we have some prizes up here. Phenomenal book, audiobook, How to Talk to Anyone. I use this to close deals all the time. If you want to save your marriage and be a better person, we need to talk. Bar none, changed my life. Best book, that's right, write it down. I'm telling you, I'm about to do a podcast on this. This deal changed my world. We just had Investor Weekend, and we were in groups of people at random. It's fascinating how people are narcissism in their conversations and how to learn to deal with those people. You might be married to one. No offense. This is Celeste. I'm serious. This book changed my life. That's why I bought it on audio. I've already uploaded it to the world of VC, but we're going to give it away today. Airbnb, short-term rentals. If you're interested in it all, this is kind of a 2-hour seminar. Super Savvy book, 302. OG book, Savvy Red. Okay, you get to pick your prize if you do a good question. Okay, it's got to be a good one, and then we're going to vote on your question. And if you're weak or scared, we'll make you dance. Yeah. All right. So,
Good question.
what's wrong with you? The first 2 books you should be reading. If you're coming to the book club,
and we need to talk.
Manage your day-to-day, build a routine, find your focus. You could come up and look at this, or I can text me and I'll get it to you. Okay, this is what we're reading right now. If you want to close more deals, everybody look at my face. Let me show you something. See that technique? Anybody know what that technique's called? It's right here. You think I make this stuff up? The only reason why I may be a little bit more different than you, with more zeros than some of you, is because I just read more books. I just read I'm serious. I read this book about 8 years ago. I just read the book and I just started applying what it said. My marriage has went up tenfold by reading this book. And a lot of people, how do you get your wife to read? It was random. The girl downstairs forwarded this article to me, kind of slapped me in the face. And I was like, oh. So I randomly bought the book. I could not put it down. She's a TED Talk. Her name is Celeste. She's a journalist. It's the best well-written book I've ever read on communicating. If you really want to step up your game and communicate. So I was reading it out loud. I was like, oh, Shanae, listen to this. And that's how we got here, and that's how we read it, and that's how our marriage has increased, is because of this book, how to learn how to communicate to each other. And I can see it in my children, how they take over conversations. And then Airbnb, everybody got to say, all right, cool. Exactly. See, you wasting my time, homie. 1206. Who's going to be the first one with the first question? Now, what's going to happen is, any questions open can be directed to anyone specifically. There's people in this room that do private money. There's people in this room that do apartment investing. There's people that don't do investing at all. You can ask any question you want to ask, and then we're going to try to find the right people to answer. Does that sound good? It should be extremely fun. Okay? And then I can elaborate on it or not. First question, who's going to be the leader? Sir.
What do you consider your best method for finding distressed properties?
Relationships as of today. So the more relationships you build up with, like, for example, like a wholesaler, there is actually a couple of really good wholesalers. And I have noticed, see, this is all the juice right here. This is the juice right here. This is how you get paid. I noticed that when I had a relationship with this wholesaler, I got a lot of deals from him. And then when I, veered off into other ventures and got a little sidetracked and got busy, deals started stopping. Then I noticed the people that individual's hanging out with, guess who gets the deals? So how do you fix that? Take them out to lunch.
Yeah.
Buy them a gift.
Yeah.
Figure out what their love language is. Okay? So is that should we get a prize? No. Come on, man. It's not good enough, man. It's got a sizzle in here. It's gonna get hot in here. Yes, sir.
So I'm doing my first eviction. I filed everything with the lawyer, and then they call me and they say, when the court date is. And I say, what else do I need to do? You just need to show up. Why did I hire a lawyer if I have to show up to court? How do you manage that?
Okay.
On a small level, it's doable.
Well,
What are you doing in your
I'll answer that question, and then anybody else have an answer for him? Because I can give him a quick answer. Anybody? Well, no matter what, it's always, what percentage is there to win a case? Does anybody know? When you go to court? No, but what's a percentage? 50-50. So it's just an advantage. And he doesn't want to, without an advantage. The individual that you're taking to court may have a comment that you're going to have to elaborate on. What's up, bud? He didn't have, he said he was going to fix the stove, and your attorney, did you send him all the call logs and all the text messages that you sent? No.
I haven't asked, I didn't.
Well, it's a lower level court. This is not like a trial. So it's just he say, she say. So you're going to stand up there under oaths and say, yes, here's the text messages. That's why you need to be at court. Do I go to court every time I evict somebody? No. There'll be many times. Now, what will happen is when they go to court, they'll ring their name, and then they'll say, everybody go outside in the hallway and negotiate and solve the problem. Right then is when the attorney will call you. She's here with X amount, or he's here with X amount of money. Do you want to settle? And then they can make a journal entry right there. Then it's a carbonless copy, and then they'll sign off on it. You don't have to be at court. Now, if this individual's sketchy, a professional tenant, I would be there. I would be there. If you can. Or you can, that's the nature of the beast. I'm sad. Sorry. But most of the time I don't show up if it's a slam dunk situation. But if there's a.
What about a professional tenant? Elaborate.
Okay. So a professional tenant is someone that knows the law and they know the rigmarole. So let me tell you about a real professional tenant. So they will reel you in, they will say certain things, but they don't document anything. For example, there's a case that I'm involved in, and I jumped into this case just to help this individual, but this person will never text back and only answers the phone. What is that sign?
Nothing in writing.
Nothing in writing. And so the law is very clear. Everything has to be in writing. Anything out of that's not in writing. So your job as a landlord or an investor is to have everything in writing. Everything that we said, what the lease is. So we won't, and especially, someone will call, hey man, my toilet's leaking. Great, we need you to text that in. We cannot receive any phone calls. Well, we're very clear on day one that we will not receive any. You can call us and we'll be jovial and we'll work with you, but anything you say will not work. You have to send, it's just for maintenance purposes and legal purposes. I have a flyer that really specifically states that. So professional tenant, this girl, she rented it, she had a BMW, rented a $110,000 house. The color doesn't matter. I talked to her, they were kind of antsy. I can move in, that's always your first sign. But I move them in, I didn't have the blinds up. And there was something else. Really minor. Like, in my world, this is not a big deal. Like, this is not. She didn't pay her rent. She showed up to court, and she showed these pictures, and I lost. I didn't get she got free rent for 2 months. Well, it was like 6 weeks. So moved her in, and then she didn't pay the next month, and then, you got to file. It takes 2 weeks to file. Plus, today's days, the sheriff is only working on 2 days a week now on serving evictions. And so that's why it's very critical when you get your times and dates. If you get your paperwork in, if you don't get it filed on Friday, it's going to kick to Monday, and then it kicks to Monday. And if you get a judgment, well, your court date's the following Tuesday, then you have to file a writ, and then it just goes on from there. It could be 3 weeks. Anybody ever dealt with that before? If you don't know the proper channels? Okay. Anyone else want to answer that, Sean, back there with a few evictions in your lifetime?
Yeah, that's one of the non-fun parts about being a landlord is evictions and tenants not paying. Probably the worst part of it. Yeah, I've had to go to court several times with minor evictions.
Have you seen a professional tenant before?
Yeah, there are. Yeah, I mean, there's one. I mean, I think a professional tenant, they've been through this before. It's not their first rodeo. They've probably been evicted before, and like I said, they know the law.
So this professional tenant, like, they accept, like, we have a disclaimer in our lease, and if you don't have this, I'd write this down, as is. Do you have an as is in your lease? You're smart. Only one person. Who has an as is in their lease? 2? Well, you got my lease. Yeah, you got it in there. But we added that on 10 years later because you're accepting the condition of the property as is. This tenant that I'm talking about, this professional, the 2 tenants, like, she's like, oh, don't worry about the blinds, but that was, she kept saying in front of the judge, he said he was going to do this work and didn't do it. Well, who can gauge what levels of importance? A new toilet or $3 blinds? So you couldn't distinguish that between them. In this case, this house I went and looked at, the cabinets weren't painted, and some things, like the cabinet wasn't hung properly, so it fell off. She knew that when she moved in, it doesn't matter. And I was talking to an investor about this the other day. This is a true story. This just happened, and Goldman was the attorney on this one, where he called me and just basically cursed me out on the phone. And I'm like, whoa. What happened was I bought this house for $15,000. They already had tenants in there. And so $15,000 obviously is the quality of the property, right? It's a brick house at $15,000, even more. These people have been living in there for at least a couple of years, paying $450 a month. No big deal. I looked at it. Yes, there was holes in the floor, okay? It was extremely dirty. I can't believe people live like this. But hey, it's $450. This is my thinking back then. $450, $1,500. That's a home run in my world. So 3 months later, boom, they don't pay. You don't pay, we don't stay. You get out. It's just we have a zero tolerance. I did not show up to court. I passed it on to Goldman Law. He went up there. The gal showed pictures of what?
The holes.
Who's responsible? What was my fault? I thought, well, she signed this lease before with this other. This is not my lease. This is the other landlord. And I thought I was completely free of the carnal sin that was done before. I had explained this to a guy on the phone the other day who's having a massive problem in this situation. I'm like, buddy, the sins of your old property manager, you are a recipient of them. Okay? Keep that in mind. The people that were before you, the leases, the quality of the property, the judge is going to hold you accountable. It is your responsibility. You can't play, I didn't know, or they moved in that way. It's almost like Dell City. Does anybody have any houses in Dell City? You're smart people. Okay. Don't have any houses over there. Because they expect when someone moves out, it comes up to code. And they charge you to go over there to tell you and flip you off. Okay? So is that clear? Because I've been stung. A friend of mine just got stung in that area. You are responsible. You have to abide by the law and the condition of that property. I didn't force that lady to move in like that. No, she chose that. That's not a case to win in the court system. All right. Any questions?
So you're saying the disclaimer in the lease as is would keep you from...
I don't know, but we just keep adding clauses in there every time we come across a situation. Seriously, that came from that one house. That's like 4 or 5 years ago. That what happened was I didn't go to court because it's slam dunk. I figured they'd just bounce out, paying $450. I don't even know if we had a deposit. You know, they decided to move. I don't, you know, usually new landlords cause people to move. They're scared. They think they will do something. I don't know. But they paid that month. They paid, and then they left the third month. And I thought they just disappeared. They didn't pay. You have to do it legally. If someone does not pay, you still have to file an eviction. Okay, and you still have to go through due process. I did, so I'm just, no big deal. Here you go, Mr. Goldman, do your deal. He calls me in court, like screaming at me. I can't believe this. I'm like, dude, they moved in like this. Like I walked the house with them when I purchased the property. I met the people. They are fully aware that there's a hole in the living room. I don't know what they were thinking. Hey, it's $450. Anyway, but at Grace, we got out of it. I don't know. I think he gave him like a free month or something happened. He negotiated in the hallway with them. But when he saw the pictures on the phone and he's asking me, is this really what it looks like? I'm like, yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to lie. Yeah. I'm like, whoa, maybe I should fire you too. You know, I was like, I didn't know. And that's why you're smart and you're here. Think of a question. If you have a question, you need to write it down. I'm telling you, be as vulnerable as possible. I won't say your name on the thing. People won't know you. We're not taking blood types. But like one question, that's why I brought this book up here. Is it's in my other book, and this is a true question. Do you rent to sex offenders? That is a book. Have I rented to sex offenders before? Yes, accidentally. I didn't know he was a sex offender, and then next thing you know, he was a great, I thought I found the dream tenant. Yeah, sex offender. Dream tenant. That doesn't even go in together. Guy was like, yeah, I'm a handyman. I can hang that light fixture for you. I'll be right back, homie. I ran right to Lowe's. I dropped off 4 or 5 boxes, got it all set up, you know. And then like the next day, hey man, I have to move. Why? Did you get the lights up? I was just playing. And he's like, did you get the lights up? And he's like, no, I'm 100 yards from the school or something. I don't even know what the law is. And so now that's in a disclaimer in my lease. Are you a sex offender? Are you, you know, I mean, I don't know how, back then, this is a long time ago. So ask the questions. I have over 1,000 questions. I love questions. This is how I learn personally. This is how you should learn. Ask a question.
As a way to find out if they're a professional tenant, is it legal to ask on an application, have you ever been evicted?
Yes, you should have that on there, and you should ask. And you should look it up. The last professional tenant, when we started doing our due diligence, I mean, this investor bought this property with a professional tenant in there. So he's kind of stuck with this individual. And she tried to play the game, and I jumped in the game for this individual and actually showed up on the property and acted like a property manager just to make sure to protect my friend, because it's a really good friend of mine, and what he's saying did not register what should be legally happening. But after the investor already closed on the property, dealt with it, trusted the landlord. Don't trust any landlords. That should have been a question. I would have gave you a book on that one. And she had like 4 or 5 evictions. She was a professional. If you've been through an eviction one time, you know what's going down. And when you look at someone's eviction on the county, see if it was a default judgment. What is a default judgment?
They didn't show up.
They didn't show up. But if there was a journal entry, look at the journal entry. You can click on the journal entry and you could see what the attorney wrote, how they negotiated, how did they settle that situation. Just gotta do your due diligence. Question?
Yeah, so whenever you take over a property and it has tenants already in it, do you have to wait till their lease with the former landlord expires to get them on your lease agreement?
Okay. Well, great question. So we'll give you something. You want a book? What do you want? Okay. So legally, the lease that's in place, you have to honor that lease. Now you can come in, and what I do is I dissolve that lease as soon as they move in. Hey, this is how the other landlord does it. This is how we do it, and we just dissolve that lease. Do you want us to honor that lease start date? But yes, you legally have to, and if it's a funky lease. But as soon as you get that house under contract, you should do your due diligence on that individual. I beat up the landlord. I'm like, what is her social security number? And if they don't have a social security number, or I don't have any details from that person, then I actually put money in escrow. I will negotiate a deal where I'm not going to pay you the full amount until I can bona fide verify this individual. I'm not having some random person living in my new asset that can burn down tomorrow, and then I'm getting, this is too much. There's too much to lose being casual. Casual equals what? Casualties. Write it down. Come on, get juicy.
Yeah.
Being casual is casualties. That's Jim Rome. That's not Steve VanCauwenbergh. Okay, but yes, you got to, first of all, you got to honor the lease, and I've seen flunky leases, one-page leases that have it's all confused, and then it defaults to the law. Like the law says, it goes into if there's no lease, it goes to a 30-day term. But just this, regardless, there's tricks in my lease that gets them to give me information that I need. For example, if you died tomorrow, and you got this flat screen, I would really like that flat screen, but it's not mine, and legally I can't touch it. Who could I give that flat screen to? Oh, give it to my mama. Okay. What's your mama's phone number? Where does your mama live? Okay. And that's how I get that information. And I go down. There's other ways I get their information. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
How do you deal with the risk adverse spouse?
Like someone that's got
Just a spouse that just basically doesn't allow you to invest in properties.
Oh, personal. Okay, we're talking about deadbeat tenants.
No.
I don't know. They both got to pay. They both own a lease. Well, like I just said earlier, so that, if you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, hopefully have you read that? And he says that's the one thing that's going to derail your success as a real estate investor if you can't get your spouse on board.
Yeah.
And that really, how did I get lucky with my spouse? My spouse came from a small town, 34 people, blue collar. Dad worked on the farm. Okay, they paycheck to paycheck like everybody else. How did I get my wife on this vision? I read to her. When she was cooking, when we were, newlyweds, you got nothing going down. I mean, I was just, she was learning to cook, and I was learning to try to be a husband, and I was reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. And that's how that one book I just gave that to him. Someone sent me an article. I was like, wow, that's a pretty powerful article. I bought the book. I was reading. I was like, I'm sitting in the living room. Shanae, dude, I didn't know I was a narcissist with conversations. Damn. She's like, you are? Oh, okay. And then let's get this is you. You just talk too much. I didn't say it like that. But I said it. I let the book do the work.
Yeah.
No, I just painted a vision. Your job as a man, in general, is to paint a vision. So I always give this example where there's a couple living in a mobile home. Who wants to live in a mobile home? No, I've never seen anybody raise their hand. Well, we're living in a mobile home. Now, the man, he's like, I'm saving money. The lady is pissed the F off. Damn, this is a damn tin can.
Yeah.
She's pissed.
Uh-huh.
But man, we're saving $500 a month. In 10 months, how much is that? $6,000, 12 months.
Yeah.
In 10 years, how much is that? It's not enough for me. But I'm just saying, think about it. That's what the man is thinking, but women are short term, they're now.
Yeah.
Okay? So every day I had to remind listen, I'm telling you, we can't get that car. I mean, we can't get that purse because we're gonna buy assets. When we buy assets, it gives us mailbox money every month. Mm-hmm. And now the life's 20 years later, I'm telling you, we living like we would never thought we would ever live because we live like no one else would ever live before. But you have to paint that picture to her. She's not going to understand. She's a mom. She's a wife. She's trying to fulfill you. She has no idea that your job is a provider, right? And you want to, this makes sense. This real estate game makes sense. These little people are making all this money. How can they do it? I can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. But yes, you need your wife on board, and it's slow. Do not buy. The most disrespectful thing you can do is buy a book for a female and give it to her. That's the stupidest thing you could ever do. I used to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we went through a few girlfriends. I was mandatory reading before we went to the next thing. I was like, no, you need to read Rich Dad Poor Dad. It was. I mean, this change. This is like, I don't know if you've been saved, got Jesus as your Savior. You like read Matthew, like, what? Who's this Jesus dude? That's Rich Dad Poor Dad was like that for me. I was like, wow, I can be rich. Oh, I don't have to have 30 degrees. So she doesn't understand. She's probably programmed from society. I realize this, that we're conformed from birth. We go what school we go to, what food we eat, where we go. No one teaches you about being rich. No one teaches you. I'm reading this very powerful book right now. First of all, if you want to read some super books, Millionaire Fastlane by MJ DeMarco. And if you follow me on Facebook right now, anybody follow me? I know you follow me, little one. You follow me on there? You should be following me, damn it. Follow me. You see? Are you following me? Answer me.
Sure.
How many posts have I posted on there? All about this book I'm reading. Unscripted. If you follow me right now, man, every night, as soon as you guys leave here, as soon as I get home after we got birthday dinner, I'm reading for at least 2 hours tonight. This book is reprogramming my mind. I didn't know that we were a consumer-based. Our whole economy is based on us buying stuff, being in debt. It's a consumer-based mindset. I have to break that off. And I'm like, oh, that's how it all makes sense. That's how, you got to, and when you've got to lead. If you want to lead, if you want to lose weight, you got to lose weight. If you want your wife to lose weight, you got to lose weight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you want to be a better husband, you show up with flowers. If flowers don't work for me, but because they die. I don't spend any money that doesn't make money, right?
Yeah.
And I don't spend anything that dies. Seriously, I'm just weird about it. Like, it don't make no sense. It has to make money, and it can't die. I'm only in businesses that have residual income. They propel. I don't do anything that doesn't have a return, and I don't do anything that doesn't have a 3-time return. I mean, this is how my mind works. Okay, what are the questions? We can spend all day on that subject. Don't come to the book club. It's gonna get animal. It's gonna get real intense. Ask the poor guys that came a couple months ago. Were you a little nervous? I was screaming at one dude.
We were talking about
I was like, dude, oh God, I gotta say this. Somebody asked me this question. He's like, I almost fell in my chair. He has a full-time job, and he thought he was rolling because he had a debt-free asset.
I was there.
I was like, I said, buddy, do you have any idea how much you're paying in tax? On a debt-free asset doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense in the culture that we live in with the Fed and the government and this thing called earned income tax. You're working for the government for free because that $1,000 a month that you're making, how much are you giving to the government? Earned income. What tax bracket are you in? Now, if you had it leveraged, that means you have a loan on it. Can you write off your interest? Is that tax-free? Yep. So you can leverage. I mean, this is not for this class, but there's a whole other strategy. So don't think being debt-free is the end-all, because you're really just back to where you were before you got here. You're a slave. You're going to a job to pay for, Here's another thing I learned in this book, too. It's just killing me. Are you a person of production or consumption? Ooh. Am I contributing or am I taking? What is the government based on? There's a lot of people up there that are consuming, but they're not production. I'm making people money. I got contractors working. I got things building. Taxes I'm paying for, right? I'm production. When you have a job that's in the White House, you're consuming. You're not contributing. Your wisdom, okay. After 5, okay. Twitter account, never mind. Let's move on. Next, come on. We got 4 more books, 4 more gifts.
If you're on the newer side of investing, how would you recommend going about obtaining more private money?
Ooh, that was a good question. Which one do you want? This one?
No? Yeah, no, that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, I wish I would have gotten a private money from the day one. So you just need to the first thing you need to do is just take action, get a spreadsheet in Google Drive, and start putting people's names in there. Put my name in there. I loan money out. Just put Michael McClure's name in there. Put people's name in there. He's a private lender right now. He's loaned me $80,000. That gentleman, Andy Green. It's on the radio. Call him, 405. I'm actually brokering out private money now. So you just build a relationship, create a spreadsheet, come to networking events like this, hang out for 30 minutes. What do? And you get their card, and you put it in the spreadsheet. When you go get a deal, call down the list of people. Hey, would you want to be a partner? Now, partner doesn't have to mean necessarily equity, but you just start the conversation. And if you start on this now, man, I'm telling you, I wish I would have started on this a long time ago, the private money deal. But so, action. And here's the only way that I can, the second thing that I would say would be to have it on top of mind. Because I think we get so busy we forget. Like you kind of like once a week, like refresh the private money thing. Like think about it. Talk about it with someone. What private money suggestions are you doing? Have you asked for private money before?
No.
Why not? Because it's easy to go to a credit card.
Yeah.
You know, I was ready to loan you the money on that business. When I heard through the grapevine, I was like, yep. I loaned somebody $10,000 the other day for $1,000 a month for 12 months. What's my return on that? 20%. Is that a good living?
Mm-hmm.
If I did it 10 times, right? But I can bless that guy. I know who he is. I loaned somebody some money out of state, and their loan, he's like, I'm going to default on you. That's what he said on the phone. I was like, whoa, your loan's due. Oh, it is? I was like, well, let's just renew it with a $500 fee. Like, let's just keep the ball rolling. It's going right into my IRA. You can loan money to businesses out of your IRA. You can put your IRA into a self-directed IRA. But I'm not saying if I was, mentoring you, credit card might be a good thing because you're young and you're only 19 and establishing credit. But you need to really establish credit. You need an installment loan. Credit cards, you've already kind of figured that out. You need to go buy a car and slowly pay it off. Like the regular payments. I mean, I could pay my vehicles off. I don't because I just ramp up my credit. Now I have the cash in my bank, just in case Donald Trump dies or something and the world ends tomorrow. I'm gonna be ready. But the reality is, you got to get an installment loan. If you have some sketchy credit, or you're trying to build your credit up to a 700, you got to have some installment loans going. It's basic principle. Could be a house, could be car. Those two are real easy to, not real easy, but you can get it. Question?
Yeah, so
Ooh,
when
you're
you
next.
talk about being leveraged on an asset, what's the minimum maximum you want to be leveraged on an asset? What's the magic number for it to make sense?
Oh, that's a good question. All right, you want another book? Airbnb. You're not ready for Airbnb. You take this book. You ready for that? All right. So, what's the? I try to buy everything at 70. Because it's a no money down deal for me. So if it's a $100,000 house and someone brings it to me, or I negotiate, I try to get it at 70%. That's the magic number. 70 is like awesome. 75 is good. 80, it's got to be in it. Now we're talking structure, location, and cash flow. Those are my three parameters. Write those down. And not in that particular order, okay? Because it changes. So cash flow might be, like if you're building your empire, cash flow might be your first thing, which would be, cash flow would also mean / terms. The second thing could be structure, because you have maintenance issues. I don't want to deal with maintenance. I shut down that whole aspect. And third could be location. So let's just give you some examples. When I started out, anywhere and anywhere. Okay, I don't buy anything from south of 540. I don't even go look at. So I was just trying to build a portfolio, so I would have a bunch of hood houses that were crappy and that had cash flow. But on my financial statement, it looked really good. Today, I'm selling all of those houses and getting different houses. So it just depends on where you're at in the strategy. But always think of those three things: structure, location, cash flow, aka terms. I'll take any house for free, subject to. My name's not on the line. I can be creative in that aspect.
I was going to say, if you can 100% leverage it though, and you can cash flow it, and it's making you money each month, what do you think about that statement?
Well, here's one thing I would not do. In the beginning, I would not, because there's a new product out there that I met with the bank for 2 hours yesterday. There's a new product coming out. It's already out, and I can mention the banks later. But it's a 30-year loan, no doc loan, but it's like a half a point more. Now that's like the Holy Grail. That's coming down the pipeline right now. Okay, what happened was everybody was scared in the beginning of the first 2 quarters. Banks are not making the revenue they need to make. They need to start taking down some stuff right now. That's what's the culture. I mean, I'm surprised this bank called me and took me to lunch. Not surprised. I mean, like, it's just not a bank that I'm like real, I'm like homies with them. And I was like, okay. And I was like, well, hey, we could do this for you. We could do that. I'm like 30 year. Now, I would never buy an asset if it only cashed on 30 year in. A real basic rule of thumb, I run all my numbers on every asset, 6%, 15 year AM. If I cash flow on that, boom, I'm in. 15 year AM, 6%. I've been through two cycles in this little game, and I'm waiting for number 3. I've not gone under. But if you had a bunch of houses and the market shifted and you're barely making it on a 30-year AM, you're going to choke out.
How much cash flow are you looking for?
Well, that's a great question. So, man, too many books for y'all. So, years ago, when I started 20 years ago, I might even mentioned it in my book. It was like $200. I don't do it that way now. It's like now there's like my matrix is like this. What equity, maintenance, that structure thing is just, can I sell it, the position. So, but I would, to me, to roll out of bed, it's got to make at least $150. But most people don't factor in property management, maintenance. And I ran this duplex through somebody the other day. It's in Edmond, $155,000. Like, it's impossible to sustain. Like, how is that even, this thing called vacancy. And let me tell you something. Conservative banks are running your numbers at 80%. So just start running your numbers. I run all my numbers at 80% just to make sure that if the hell broke out and people are killing each other, the Indians are going to come back. They should. I'll be ready. Because it's going to happen. I'll be dead by then, but it will happen. Think about it. So run your whole portfolio at 80%. Then you'll be safe.
What do you mean 80% of?
Like the total value. Total value. Like if you think you're making $1,000 a month, you're making $800. If you're making, just run it at 80. You should run it at 80. Does anybody else do these conservative? Yeah, I figured you do.
I was gonna say this for maybe some new people listening in the room, but you're doing, you're looking at possibly 150 cash flow on a property, but what a lot of people need to remember is you probably have so many assets right now that you can take on a 150 cash flow asset and still be safe. Whereas somebody new, if they have one asset and the cash flow is 150, that is really dangerous.
Well,
maybe.
It depends if they have a W-2. The cool thing about there's so many variables. So if they have a W-2, they're not getting any tax deduction. That 150 actually translates to 450 if they bought a $100,000 house. How did I get that 450 a month? What's the word?
Appreciation.
Who said that? OG back there. That's right. And I'm not going to give you any price. But that's right, because I coach him.
But depreciation doesn't cover
I coach
the
him.
cost of new
It's
heat.
depreciation. No, yeah, but it helps against your taxes. Depends on what your goals are. If you're like, this is my full-time job, this is all I do, that's why I really don't jump on those $150 houses per se. But if it's an equity play or a location or it's a path of progress, or back in the day, I don't do it this way anymore, but my guys are bored. I need to put them to work because I can't lose them, so I'll take down this house. But those days are over with. I don't see that today. I don't have a crew like that. I have 2 crews left, and I'm slow. Like I'll wait a month for them to finish before I do my next make ready, and I'll just lose $400 a month. It's just because I know what their quality construction, I know what I'm doing. But before, I'd have like 4 or 5 crews and just be taking down houses to keep these jokers busy. But it's just a different philosophy. The culture is different. We're competing against a bunch of idiots, so you might as well just back down. There's just people. If someone bought that duplex for $155,000, it may make sense for a doctor. Not the condition of the property that I saw, but it brought in $1,800. So it's a cap rate of blank, blank, blank. Okay. First of all, you shouldn't even talk in that terminology. But the thing is, if the doctors have high income, and they need a lot more deductions, and they can write off a lot more expenses, or they can take on different loans and stuff. It just makes sense, like a 1% on a $150,000 asset. I wouldn't do it because I'm a full-time investor. I have to make money. I'm not. Doctors already are making cashes today. You know, we as investors, we're working with little cash today and be killing it 20 years from now. It works. Trust me, I'm a living testimony. I would never imagine when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad where I would be. You guys are standing in my building. How would that happen? I mean, my dream was just to live in a house. I mean, there's no special education. You just have to go do it. But those strategies have changed, so it's not that easy. Hey, I should get 150. You know, maybe you should shoot for 200. He's a sophisticated investor. He reads a lot. He knows what's going on. He has a different take on it. There's people that I hear people say 300 a house, and I see people, you can get 300 or 450 an asset, but you got a 30-year AM. I would buy that deal, okay? But remember, I said don't buy it with a 30-year AM if it breaks even or barely makes it. And then take that 450, bank it, and then till you get up to 40,000, and then freaking go ballistic, and then go amp on it, because then you have $40,000 in the bank, you got this asset, but you really don't have any equity in it because you have 30-year mortgage if you bought it right. Those are just variables. Now the way I invest now is totally different than I did 20 years ago. It's just different. And you know, you got to shape what works for you. I have friends today that are debt free, and they're just slow, and like he's calling me on the phone. He's like, dude, I got this house. They're paid off. I can owner finance it. B, cash out, make 40,000. Put that in a cannabis company. I'm saying, the questions I get are just make me laugh. I'm like, do you smoke weed? That's my second question. But you know. Debt free, you know, I'm millions of dollars in debt. Some people can't. They don't think that it bothers them. It weighs on them. They get more gray hair than other people. It does. I mean, people, you know, they've been lied to for so long that debt is bad. Debt. I look at debt as a tool, and I look at it as a loaded gun. It's a tool to grow. You can't do anything in society without a bank. Seems like it, right? Did you know that 85% of all cars on the road are financed? Mm-hmm. Did you know? Man, I sound awesome today. That's what happens when you read. I just read this information, that's why. I don't have this memorized. 35% of America are late on something. 35% of the people. Think about it. It's fascinating. All right, enough of philosophy here. Just go listen to Jim Rohn. Oh, you want a book, huh, Zach? Oh, well, let's let the lady first.
One question. Today, what is the best way to get a good tenant?
Well, the only way, the supply is there, okay? And you can find a tenant with a bandit sign, or you can find a tenant on Facebook. It's irrelevant how you find a tenant. This is how you do your due diligence to quantify that tenant. That's the number one thing. Facebook has changed the world. Okay, like even just there's something my wife was looking for, a baseball bat, and they're $300 for baseball bats. What the? For a softball bat? Oh no, we're gonna dial that down. How old is she? And so then I had to go into like investment mode. Okay, Sinead, listen, let's do it this way. Let's see if we can find a used bat for $100, and they're all depreciated out. Bats are just like houses. And I had to show her. I was like, look, I went on Facebook, went to Marketplace. It has to be a certain size and weight. This is BS, but you know. So I put that all in there, and a couple bats popped up, and an average of this bat is $100. Now, these bats come out every year, like your little cell phone. That's fascinating. There's a 17, 18, 19. Why does that matter? It's a damn bat. And I realized why they're at $300 because I did a little bit more research, because they have to be all approved by all these associations. Who says that? Fascinating. I love this game. So I was like, okay, Sinead, let's just do this. Let's not pay the $300 for the bat, but we have the money, we can buy the bat. How old's our daughter? 10. How long is it going to last? 1 or 2 seasons. And I already figured it out that I can only dump the damn thing for 100. So what's my depreciation? 2/3. What's that mathematically? $200. Ooh, $200.
It's no bueno.
It's a no bueno in VanCauwenbergh world now. This is my wife. No, you read another book. So I was like, Shanae, let's try this for me. Let's buy this $100 bat, see if she likes it, and if it goes well, we'll buy the $300 bat. But guess what will happen? What's the awesome part that happens in that situation? That gets me all juicy inside. What is it?
Your daughter hits home runs.
I almost texted you and asked, do you have a 30 bat that weighs 10 ounces? Some number. I was like, oh, hell. What's the great thing about it?
You can resell that.
Yes! Yes! I could resell that bat for how much?
$100.
And guess what happens? I get my money back! That's why I love real estate! I always get my money back. I have no money in the game. Think about it. 20 years. I have all my cash out of the game. All the assets are, none of it's my money. It all came back. That's why a lot of investors are smiling all the time, because this is a free game.
Yes.
I didn't work for this deal. I worked a little hard in the beginning, and it pays out every day ever since then. I'm humbled by it. The same thing with the bat. I can buy that bat for $100, play with it, and then boom, turn it around, sell it for $100 to some other sucker, and we all good. That's called there's a theory, the greater fool theory. All right, next question. 10 minutes, 12 minutes. Zach.
Private money. If you're wanting to loan private money, how do you screen for the tenant or the asset or for the borrower, or how do you structure it? Like, how do you build that structure?
All right, you get one thing. That is a really good question. Take the book. You ain't ready for Airbnb yet. All right, so first of all, you should read this. If you really want to learn how to loan money to people, and you should, even if you have $1,000, you should read this book. If you're alone, it's called The Banker's Code by George Anton. That's my homie. And I would vet the person out like it would beyond a tenant. And it's hard to say this because I've loaned him money in the room. One time I borrowed money from somebody. I bought a house, and it was young, and I wasn't thinking, I should have just borrowed all the money, but I was just so insecure and dumb. I was like, I borrowed 15 from him and 15 from him. Okay? Which I should just borrow the 30, but I just didn't think I could get it. It's just low money. One guy, he was out of state. I was like, hey man, can I borrow $15,000? I bought this property. It's worth $65,000. Blah, 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 blah. And he's like, sure. He said yes right on the phone. Right then. I said, okay, can you give me the docs? Nope, I'm not going to give you any docs. I know who you are. You're on Facebook. I kill you. Because I'm the savvy landlord. Oh, that was kind of cool. This is a guy out of state that I met at a party that we just had, like investor weekend type of thing. I met him in Nashville at the Mr. Landlord. If you want to go to a conference, there's one coming up in May. It's awesome, but it's on a holiday weekend. It's the Mr. Landlord conference. I go to every year. I won't be there this year, but it's phenomenal. That's how all my closest friends came from. So I was like, man, I did it. Got private money, $15,000, boom, boom. Well, I need another $15,000. So I call a local friend who's in Edmond, who has a lot of money, a lot of investments, a lot of stuff. 15 G's now. The dude put me through the ringer. Well, you're going to personal guarantee everything. You're going to do this. And he had like 30 documents. I didn't have no documents from the other guy. He just wired me the money. The other guy had 30 documents, called the title company, verified everything. And I knew this guy, and I was in a Bible study with this guy for years. On top of that, I even bought his DJ equipment from him. He used to run all the Stillwater at the place called the Tumbleweed or something. Does anybody know about that? Is that still around?
Yeah.
Oh,
I did social media.
Keith, kiss somebody there. You do social media there?
I did for a while.
Oh, okay. I DJ there. I know. Don't worry. Some still alive. But it taught me a lot that, yes, you should be an animal. If I'm going to loan you $1, I know everything about you. I'm just not going to loan the 5 C's. Google up the 5 C's: character, quality. Just like bank, I would treat you just like a bank, and I would definitely make you sign a personal guarantee. And if you don't want to sign a personal guarantee, then I'm not going to loan you any money. I sign personal guarantees all day long. And there was somebody that I was coaching that had a couple $100,000, was loaning somebody else money, and he was a good friend of his. And I was coaching him, I'm like, buddy, you need to make him sign a personal guarantee. The guy walked away. Oh, that's a real good friend. If I slide that paper over there, you are personally guaranteeing in your LLC, your kids, all of it, the whole deal. Now I don't do that for $10,000, but for anything like, well, I didn't do it for Keith, but anything from 70 and above. Well, see, like Keith, you can loan money on transactional funding, right? How long did you borrow that 60,000?
Maybe like 2 days.
Yeah, still made $600, or maybe I charged you $900. Can't remember.
Some magical number, 500 or 600.
But he was so thankful because something happened. He had to close this deal in the village, and what happened?
Well, I had to close one and then buy one, so I needed like a half a day's worth of money. So
Yeah, that's called transactional funding.
Yeah.
People make a killing on transactional funding. Or if you have a double closing and you don't want someone to know about it, and the title company's whack, you can double close with someone else's cash. Okay, what other question? Did I answer that question properly? Okay.
Okay, for investors in this room that's ever done a get job, how much would you say on average? I know it's gonna be a little ballpark, but per square foot
You
to.
should have came to Investor Weekend.
I did.
You see that slide up there?
$60 to $80 a square foot. But I was wondering if people in this room, if they agree with that.
Great question. Mr. Builder, rehab, we're about to do a gut down in Norman right now. We got like 4 units we're doing.
Yeah.
So,
If you've got a deck and it's just being laid on concrete patio, you would be looking at probably about $5 to $7 a square foot. But if you've got a deck that's going to have joists underneath it, and it's going to be a raised deck with concrete pillars anchoring your 4x4s, then you can get up to that 25, 35, 45. It just depends how high it is. There's all kinds of conditions that will vary on a deck.
so if you were, she's not talking about a deck, you're talking about a whole rehab.
I'm talking about the whole thing, yeah.
So I always budget the worst case scenario that I'm going to fire that guy. And what's going to cost me above that? That's how I do it. And a rule of thumb, what is this, all you rehabbers, what is it, you add 20% onto everything? Or 30, is it 30%? 20% is safe of what you think it's going to be. So if you think that rehab's going to be 60, add 20% onto there. So that'd be 6,000, another 10, so it'd be 70,000.
Depends on if you're flipping or rehabbing or holding.
Yeah, and it depends on what the quality of fixtures that you put in. That's what really hurts you.
Good $60 a foot. $60 a foot is a new house.
No, you could build the house for 85 if you do it all yourself. 85 to 90. But custom house is 125. Right? Is that about right? What's the?
Yeah, 85 to 90 just with, that's no land, and it's.
That's just you. And that's like the bare ghetto-ness.
That's the bare bones.
That's no upgrades. That's 85, and that's if you're savvy. That's like if you find a concrete guy and you're kind of monitoring him, which you're trying, you have no idea what you're doing, and you're trying to save on concrete. That's $85 a square. Like it's hard. That's what builders are building for. A builder that does it all day long and home creations over there, there's between $65 and $75 a square, and they're just beating those guys up and running them out in and out.
Yeah, builders are only making 10 to 12% margin.
Yes, that's about right.
That much.
Custom homes a little bit different. Any other questions? Everybody's super savvy. We got one more item up here. Airbnb.
You mentioned that you changed your strategy. Was that just because you were stepping up and kind of growing into that, or is it just because you learned and evolved? And like, if you had that knowledge, you would have started where you are now, as opposed to just stepping up.
It's a great question.
You said you're buying different.
So that's yours. Good question, youngster. You can have it. Slide it. Dig. Always take the money. That's the first thing. Always take it. I think it was you evolved out of, when I'm driving through the hood, I thought I would never get out of there. I always thought that no one would ever buy these houses. I felt like I was the only, I don't want to say that word, bad, not kosher. I don't know, I'm not mentally, I'm the only psycho in the world that would buy on the east side. There was only, at the time when I was crushing it over there was only 2 or 3 other people. And it was fun because the wholesale would just call us. It's not like that. Now there's probably, back then, at one time there was about 11 or 12 players over here on the east side. Now there's probably 50 or 60, 70, probably just individual investors that have 1 or 2 houses. I mean, I could probably hire a VA to figure that out and get accurate data. But, so I think it just, I just learned, I learned from someone else, and, I learned this thing called debt equity, or you have too much equity in a property, or you need to sell it, or the rule of thumb is, the 5-year mark, and that's where I'm at right now on a lot of houses. I spent a lot of time in construction in the beginning, what not to do, and then I spent a lot of time in banking, and then all those things morph into your decisions, because if you're just starting out and you have no money, what's your only option? Private money or owner financed. And so when I was dumb 20 years ago, I didn't know any difference. I just made tons of offers. Would you take payments? Would you take payments? $5,000, $2,000 down. Would you take payments? Would you take payments? And eventually, after so many no's, I got a yes. And that's how I got into the game. And then, now I regret, now I think way more creative finance. Now I'm like, I could, before, then I got bank funding from 06 to now. Then I was just always dropping a hammer on people. I got cash I can close. That strategy does not work today. So you have to kind of mold and shape. Bandit signs do work, but eventually, if everyone keeps going, the city's going to crack down even harder, like they did 4 or 5 years ago. So you just have to kind of maneuver. There was a long time I was involved with probates. For a long time, we did very well in probates, and we spent a lot of time in probates. And at that time, a lot of people weren't in probates. People just get burned out. But my strategies is based on being educated.
It sounds like you're going where other people aren't.
Yeah, I'm not buying any property right now. There's no reason to buy property because it's too overinflated. Now, I was meant to say, so what was the sweet spot of the property? 70%. Okay, what I would give 90, 95 if it cash flowed and there was equity in it, or it made sense. It was, like I would never buy in a building like this again. Even though this was a smoking deal, this building's worth $800,000. I bought it for $525, and I put in about $100,000 in it. But it's not a deal. This is work. This is labor. Someone moves out, I have to go to the bathroom. Someone moves in, I'm like, let's go have a drink. It is a frustrating. It's easier in single family. Now, where I would be, you could scale. You go start off with single families, and then you get into apartments, and then you get into this and this is. I don't know about all that jazz. I'm telling you, I think you could make a phenomenal life staying in single family. It just gets a lot more complicated. I have every year I got to pay this dude to tell me this is fine. Somebody makes $200 every. Oh, okay. It's the law. Okay. There's like 100 other expenses that when you build commercial property, what's up. I don't know if I want to deal with that headache. And then when someone wants to sue you because there's water in the air ducts, and single family is, to me, the safest. It's a slow game. You can accelerate it, but you could sell them quicker. Who's going to buy this apartment building on the east side? Now 3 years from now, 5 years from now, people they're going to be like, man, and I sell this thing for $1.2 million, and VanCauwenbergh was amazing, but I took all the risk in the front end. Because this property right here is in path of progress. So it just depends on what you're trying. Everyone's moving to the east because the west is too, and this is just, we're in 3 freeways. So it's just a lot.
Financing?
Huh?
Are you gonna
Yeah, yeah, that's my exit strategy. Absolutely. When I get to a certain age, I'm gonna owner finance everything. I've dumped a bunch of property to my friend back there on owner finance. I have 4 of them right now. I want cash flow. So now I look at it, whoever said that earlier in the strategy, Now it's based on, I don't really care. Like before I was like kind of debt free, and I have a bunch of houses that are debt free, and it looks really good with banks, and that's like one phase. And then the second phase is, well, okay, you proved yourself, you got 30 units or 60 units, and then it's like you can borrow up to a couple million. And then you get to this phase, and it just, you kind of figure it out. You're gonna have to have friends that will walk you through these processes. But just keeping it simple, buying single family houses is fine. Buying single family houses in Edmond, I don't think I'm gonna be rich. Like, it's just not gonna happen. Like, they don't return. I have a $100,000 house, I'm only getting $1,200 a month from. Whoopee woo. That's where a 30-year AM makes sense. Because it's a very competitive market. Everybody wants to live in it. It's a great rental market, but you're not getting the returns that I'm getting over here at $300 a month on a $15,000 property, or $60,000 or $70,000. Those $15,000 properties now are trading at $50,000. Those houses I was buying in Midwest City for $45 are trading for $65 to $70. Now Spencer, saw an investor buy a house in Spencer for $15, try to sell it for $30. Good luck with that one. It's just the economy changes. You got to get in the game. You need to buy houses, period. And if you don't know how to buy a house, you can fail if you overpay, but you got to get in the game, and you got to be buying houses. You got to be thinking about it. It's got to be the top of mind. Private money's got to be on the top of your mind. A lot of people are restricted that they can't get in the game because they have no money. I'm telling you that as a fallacy. I said that on a podcast somewhere. Deals and relationships are the key to the game. Money is secondary. Fourth, money is there's so much money in this room. There's at least $100 million in this room. Maybe not. Maybe 70,000. 70 million. I'm trying to add up who I know. There's at least 40 million in here. I would say 50. There's 50 million. I know for sure there's 50 million in this room. I'm just trying. I know what people's net worth is. I know who they are. I talk to them. I have a relationship. I don't care. Someone told me that day, I just made $30,000 a month. Good for you, buddy. But it's good. I love it. I get a call from somebody. Man, I'm financially free. I make $5,000 a month. I mean, worked a job for 13 years, and then now he's within a short amount of time, within a couple of years, he's financially free. He can stay home if he wants to all day. It's a real lifestyle. All right, that's it. All right, what's the subject next month? I will be here. It's not spring break. It's not Kanakuk. So I'll be here. Huh? What'd you say?
Appraisals.
Oh yeah, that's right. Appraisals. How's that? That's right. I forgot about that guy. I gotta confirm him. We got a speaker coming in. He's an appraiser. I'll beat him up, which will be fun, because I will rip him up. Get ready. I'll pre-warn him. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna be real straight with you. Why are you like this? Like, how could one guy be this number and you're like $100,000 off over here? Explain that to me. I want to know exactly what software you're using. It's gonna be fun. And he's an investor himself, and he's in this building.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at savvyradioshow.com. Connect on Twitter @LandlordBook and always be buying assets.